Ski TV. Subscribe now. Jetzt abonnieren.
I'm proud to have these fellas on Ski TV, alongside artists like Schooly D, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Cash Money and Marvelous. They put Philly on the hip-hop map in the mid-80s. Known for their own signature sound, their energetic up-tempo beats, their three MCs with the very unique flow and super precise cuts. They're not only known in the US, but worldwide. It's the Deuce, Ace, Detonator, DJ Too Tuff, Overlord, Ice Dog, LA Kid, Tone Love, and Money G. I'm talking about the legendary Tuff Crew. I'm here via Skype with Tone Love and DJ Too Tuff. Welcome to Ski TV, fellas.
Yo,
what's up?
What's up, Rick?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Good to see you, brothers. So
Good to see you too.
let's get right into the first question. How and what year were you two guys introduced to hip hop?
How and what year? First year I was introduced to hip hop was probably 1982.
Right.
I watched a movie, a TV series that only debuted one time. It was called Graffiti Rock.
Right, in 84.
And it had the New York City Breakers, Run DMC, Jam 84 maybe, yeah. I remember I was in high school, and it totally made me fall in love with hip hop right at that very moment, and I've been in a passionate love affair with hip hop ever since.
Cool. And you, Tone?
Oh, me, I would go back to, I think, the first block party I ever went to, South Philly. Well, as far as movies, I did have a first movie, Crush Groove. That was in like 85, I think. But even before Crush Groove, I was like frequenting like block parties where sound system owners would come through, a production system. I guess they would be called production sounds. And they would come out with their turntables and their speakers and just set up. And DJ would do his thing, and then MCs would get on. So I first was exposed to that in my neighborhood. DJs like Grandmaster Nelly Nell,
Right.
Grand Tone. These were some local MCs who would do block parties in parks. And I would come out and watch them. And then I started going home trying to write my thing to be able to, hopefully get on stage and do my thing with them. So eventually I started being able to, from those parties get into my own situation. But that was my first exposure to hip hop. Just the block parties in Philly was crazy back then.
Describe the hip hop scene in Philly in the early 80s. What was it like?
It was everything that hip hop was. I mean, we was very, early in the game, very influenced through, what we was picking up from New York. But on our own tip, we had graffiti was heavy. It was a lot of cats bombing graffiti out here. Matter of fact, one of the legends just died recently. What's his name? Too Tough. Rest in peace. SG.
SG, yeah. Rest in peace, SG.
Yeah, Goldie. So, you know what I mean? God bless the dead. He was doing his thing. And a lot of other, graffiti was heavy out here in Philly as an art. Break dancing, we was into that. Even carrying your own floor, your own vinyl sheet to wherever you was going to be. We used to hang out in Hart Park down in Philly. It was a lot of break dancing, graffiti, just whatever, man, what we was picking up from hip hop. Started putting freestyles together, started writing rhymes. So it was very heavy out here in Philly in the early 80s. The influence of all the hip hop elements was very heavy out here, I would say, in Philly, yeah.
Cool. So what year and how did the Tuff Crew form?
What year? Before I was in the group, Tuff Crew was already they started the ball rolling. With even before Tone was in the group, Tuff Crew had started the ball rolling because the original members of Tuff Crew was probably Ice Dog, LA Kid, and a dude named Easy C. Ice Dog lived across the street from my mom and dad's house. Ice Dog's girlfriend lived across the street from my mom and dad's house where I lived on 4th and Girard. And he was sort of like a neighborhood icon as far as breakdancing went. And he had dabbled in rapping because at that time there wasn't a whole lot of people rapping.
Yeah.
There was a whole lot of people break dancing, but it wasn't a whole lot of people rapping. So you had to really be something special to even take a chance to try to rap.
Right.
It was such a brand new thing.
So
it was.
We're still talking 84? Was it maybe 84?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, in Philly, in our neighborhood, there wasn't a rapper on every street corner.
Right.
Now there's probably 10 rappers in every family. You know what I mean? So it's gotten a little bit oversaturated.
Yeah.
Right. It was only a handful of real MCs that was being heard across the city back in 84, 83 and all of that. And so we were right behind them. Tuff Crew ushered in like 85, 86. We started bringing our thing together. So we was right behind the first wave of MCs out here. You know, you got Schoolie D, you got, Tuff Crew, you got MC Breeze, you got even Shan and all of them. They wound up coming out of Philly through Pop Art, which was a local Philadelphia label. So we were meeting all of them. Big Daddy Kane, Shante, they was coming through Philly, Shan. And so all of that started at the same time around 84, 85. We started putting it together. We were in the studio in 85, going to 86. And that's when we kind of came together real heavy. We originally had two DJs. Too Tuff just pretty much RIP'd the other DJ. Yeah, we started out with two, but Shiver, DJ Shiver couldn't carry his own weight. So Too Tuff started carrying his records, his crates.
So
yeah, we've been in this thing from the beginning, man, and we still in it. Actually, we are officially I think a big piece of the foundation as far as hip hop out here in Philly.
How many of you guys started as dancers, as b-boys?
Yeah, I wasn't a break dancer.
You tried. You tried.
I was too hard to be a break dancer. And did I try it? Yeah, I tried it in my room when nobody wasn't looking. I was always a fat boy when I was young, so I wasn't doing no break dancing.
Yeah,
I played football, but I wasn't no break dancer.
What about you, Tone?
No, I really that wasn't my niche either.
Come on.
I could pop a little bit, but I couldn't really break that. I couldn't windmill or nothing like that. I used to admire it, though. I mean, I was watching.
All right.
The sidelines.
Ice was a really good break dancer. Ice was one of the best in the city. The way that Tuff Crew.
What about LA Kid? Was he a dancer too? Right.
He was more like a producer. He was working on beats as that became, very instrumental in the whole, group scene and situation. You needed somebody to make the beats, and that was his forte. LA Kid was more like on the music. I was a writer. But like you said, Ice could break dance too. But
I still hear in your music. I still hear the b-boy roots for me. The up-tempo beats and that type of stuff. The break beats.
We was very much into it. Like I said, I mean, even the people around us. Ice Dog brother, Pope, he broke dance. Ice broke dance. It was like some of us was doing it. Some of us was rapping. Everybody had their lane.
Right.
And then the people that was around us. So Too Tuff had to cut scratching on lock. Nobody else was really trying to do that. Like everybody picked something that they was good at and just pretty much was doing that. So when Ice realized that he could rap as good as he could, if not better than he could break, he started being more on the writing side. But he started out in the breakdance crew. So with his brother, I think two of his brothers might have been breakdancing. Was Mike breakdancing too? I know Pope was.
Yeah, Mike was too.
Yeah,
that was sort of a Puerto Rican Rican thing to be a break dancer in Philly. Not that you had to be Puerto Rican, but it was sort of a Latino influence. Not to say that. Well, I grew up in the Badlands, so the area that I grew up in was mostly Puerto Rican and black, but mostly Puerto Rican. So
right.
Ice always had the ego, the star mentality. He was always like the center of attention. When Ice walked in the party, even before he was a rapper, he thought his shit didn't stink. So, he's still there, kind of like that way today. So it's He
always throw me out on stage first. You go first, Tom.
So what's the name Tuff Crew coming from?
Tuff Crew. Tuff Crew was the name that Ice and them. They made that. They were called Tuff. Well, they were called TUF, and that stood for The Unforgettables.
Oh, okay.
And then that eventually became Tuff Crew, TUFFCREW. But by the time I got into the group, they were already called Tuff Crew, and I saw that they had jackets that said TUF. So me, I was like the number one. I'm still the number one Tuff Crew fan today. Out of anybody, out of you, him, out of anybody, I am seriously the number one Tuff Crew fan. But then I was the number one Tuff Crew fan too, because I used to look at them like they was stars to me. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be the DJ for Tuff Crew more than anything else in the universe. And 30 years later, I still want to be the DJ for Tuff Crew.
Perfect. So, tell me about the first DJ Shiver. You already mentioned him.
Yeah, well, wow. Shiver's scratching skills left a little bit to be desired. He was a good brother, you know what I mean? But I had an offing, you know.
Yeah. It was our manager idea, I think. I think it was the manager's idea to have two JJs because he always wanted to have it like some competition to be making them really try to, you know, really bring out their skills. So I think
that was good. That was a good idea.
Like, all right, you want to have it like where we gonna be up there battling? Because back then I think it was cool. It was kind of fashionable if you had two DJs like Bobcat and the other DJ for LL. So I think that was his idea. Hey,
Cut Creator and Bobcat.
Right, Cut Creator and Bobcat. Yeah. So my DJ, you know, our manager was kind of like you know, just trying to look for whatever he thought would be.
So you basically had the same dynamics as LL because Cut Creator compared to Bobcat couldn't do shit.
Right. And the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, the boy, he fizzled out because it got to the point where Too Tuff was like, oh, all right, well, if it's going to be two DJs, I'm going to have to bust your ass because they're going to make sure they know who I am. And it just came down that there was too much of a space. Even if he was a little close, he might have could have hung in there. He just pretty much said, this ain't going to work.
Was DJ Shiver still around when the Phanjam?
Yeah, DJ Shiver was still around all the way up till after Phanjam, 88. I would say up until 88. He fizzled off right before we really got into the Danger Zone stuff because there was really no need for him. He was just, he was pretty much a, what would you call it? I would call it like a novelty.
Little Too Tuff.
What up, Little Too Tuff? Cool. So when did you?
Like a novelty, I think, you know, to have him around, but it was cool. You know, he was on a couple of records. I'm sure he'll probably appreciate this airtime. If you out there, shout out to DJ Shiver. You know what I mean? You made Too Tuff a little more tighter with his. You made it really tight up.
You made me better than I should have been.
Right, better than he should have been early.
So when did you become a full member, Too Tuff?
I became a full member of Tuff Crew the night of the New York City. the night of the New York versus Philly battle, which was a show in Philly. It took place at the Spectrum. So my first show was done in front of like 17,000 people.
All right, it wasn't 87, right?
Yeah, 87.
Yeah.
That show included Salt and Pepper, LL Cool J, Steady B, Cutmaster DC, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, everybody, MC Breeze, Tuff Crew, LTD Crew,
Skinny Boys,
Skinny Boys. Everybody was at that show. And for me, I was totally amazed. I mean, it kind of happened overnight for me. It happened overnight for the whole Tuff Crew. I mean, 1 minute we were in the hood, breakdancing and carrying a piece of linoleum around. The next thing you know, we was in Miami touring with Luke Skyywalker.
Right.
That made our whole world spun around overnight.
So how did you get your record deal with So Deff Records? How did that happen?
So Deff Records was the manager's label that he started around us. Once we actually started pulling it together and started recording, decided that we would start out with a label and try to get a distribution deal, because they would give out a distribution. It was called a P&D deal. And basically you could get a distribution company to partner with you for X amount of the publishing. And they would give you the budget to record and stuff like that. So we did a P&D deal with Warlock Records. But So Deff, he set up for the groups that he was going to be creating and signing, which was Tuff Crew was their original group. And then from there, whoever else, you know, he'd have a label to sign them on and then get distribution. So his idea was, rather than signing, was to be like an independent. So we were actually on an indie that wound up becoming big because of us, actually. I mean, I think we outgrew him, but label was well respected. I mean, even to the point where So Deff, because of us, you know, Jermaine Dupri had to call his label So Deff.
I always wondered. He got the idea from you, basically, right?
Yeah, he wanted So Deff, I'm sure, and he put an extra so on there because we already used the shit. But basically, that's what happened. We was just doing our own independent thing, got a distribution situation, and really ran from there. So we didn't really have to get the deal. The deal was there once Tuff Crew really just formed. You know, we already had a label we was going to be on.
I think.
Yeah.
I think I'll make it quick. I just think that the idea that Tony Mitchell had and the vision that he had was very impressive for that time. It was very, very progressive. There were other groups and other people like Tony Mitchell, like Lawrence Goodman, who started Steady B, Cool C, and all them. But I mean,
Hilltop Records,
think back,
Hilltop Hustles.
Yeah, for Hilltop Hustlers, to think back for someone to have a vision like that and then actually make it come true probably exceeded his wildest imagination as well.
Mm. Tell me about Eddie D and Calvin Fats, who produced your first two 12 inches, Get Smart and Philly Style. Tell me about these guys.
Eddie D, the only way I knew Eddie D or knew of him was from that record, Money, 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 Money. I want some scratch, scratch, scratch. So when I met Eddie D, he was a good dude. We didn't really have that much of a relationship with Eddie D for such a long time because Mitch was moving through the industry at a rapid pace. He was gathering whatever connection, taking what he could get from those people. And moving to the next person. And so we eventually got with Lady B and stuff like that. Fats was our homeboy. Fats was very instrumental in my life and me being a DJ because Fats put up the money for Tuff Crew. Fats basically funded Tuff Crew.
Right.
Because he was a big time drug dealer at that time.
All right. So what? Was he like the partner of Tony Mitchell?
Yeah.
The business partner?
He was the money man. Fats got money to burn, burns money's fat. Yeah. Yeah. We always had a good money supply. Whatever we needed, they paid for it. Whatever Mitch told them to pay for, they paid for it.
But Eddie D
wasn't never no broke. We wasn't never no broke ass crew. That's
right.
For sure.
So Eddie D was he a musician? More?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eddie D had a record that, you know, like I said, our manager was just looking for whoever as he went along, like Too Tuff said, that he thought could help us, that we could glean from, who was having success already. So he had made a record that was considered a hit. Mitch knew him. He was like, what we need to do was the formula. He was looking for the formula. Little did he know the formula was already there in us. We was the formula. But he was trying gimmicks first. You know, as any manager just starting out, what I got to do to make this work. He wanted us to be like Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince. That's why, if you notice, Phanjam was more of us being comical than it was us being ourselves, which you see later on Tuff Danger Zone and Back Direct Shop. That was more organic for us. But he was trying to figure out what we could cash in on. And it seemed like Will Smith, the world was liking, you know, that type of style or that type of rap. So he wanted us to try anything. And that's where Eddie D kind of came in, where he was like, let's try to make sure we have a professional on set with us, helping us make choices musically and creatively. And so he was like one of those dudes, but we was even more advanced than him. Like He didn't know what we already had. He was just there just in case we needed creative direction or whatever. We just had our own thing, and our own sound, as you even spoke of, was already there.
For a certain time, we didn't even know it ourselves.
Yeah.
I can't, it's 30 years later, I can't emphasize the importance and the gratitude that I have for Tony Mitchell at this time, because Tony Mitchell was the CEO and creator of So Deaf Records, who had a dream. He used to manage I'll Be Sure. He used to be one of Muhammad Ali's right-hand men. He did a lot of different stuff with a lot of different people. He was a mover and shaker. He was a hustler. He's who I ended up modeling my whole life after. And I'm sure I can't put enough emphasis on the fact that if it wasn't for Mitch, we would have never been Tuff Crew. And we hated him for a while. We hated him.
So Tony,
but he was a visionary, man. I can't say enough about him. He wasn't always the greatest with paying everybody what they needed to get, or so we thought, because there's a lot of different expenses that come along with that situation that we may not have been paying attention to, because he may have greased a few people's palms to get us on the radio, and they might have ended up taking up some of the money that we thought we were supposed to get as artists, but he had to use that to get us through certain doors that we didn't really know about. We just worried about, look, we made this record, it's selling all these copies, we blowing up all over the place, where the fuck is our money at? But we weren't really experienced enough to know the things and the highways and the back roads and the alleyways that the manager had to take, because he put the whole shit together. He was not only our manager, but he owned So Deaf Records, and he went out and got the people to invest in his dream that occurred by coming and finding us. And we didn't know each other. Nobody from Tuff Crew knew each other, really.
So
we got together as Tuff Crew.
So Tony Mitchell was your label boss and manager at the same time?
Yes.
There's always
conflict convention.
Yeah, there's always a lot of potential of conflict, that situation.
Well, we signed our contracts at 12 midnight on a Tuesday. Remember that?
Yeah.
Second in Gerard, it's like, here go your contract. Sign them to it. You don't need to worry about asking your mom nothing. Just go ahead and sign them to it.
Our job was like Empire a little bit.
Yeah.
He was trying to make sure we got really where we wanted to be, and he did.
I've developed a long-standing respect for Mitch, man. Mitch.
Yeah, he did it on a small budget. He did it, He's just, and he was kind of from the streets too. So all of his choices wasn't necessarily model choices, but I will say he was for Tuff Crew being as big as we could be. And then I think in the end result, he didn't want to let go of us because we was kind of his baby. Even when we had a situation, we had a deal come down the pike. And I think he was very worried about letting us go with that deal with Capitol Records. That's why it fell through. But genuinely, he really was pushing Tuff Crew to the utmost of his ability.
He had a dream, and Tuff Crew was his dream.
Right. So how did you guys meet the Ultramagnetic MCs? How and when?
Probably. Go ahead, too.
I don't remember the exact year, but I know Mitch brought Roxanne Shante for a show. We met everybody from Top Priority, Nathaniel Robinson, and all of them. And the next on the list was we were starstruck meeting all of the other rappers in the industry who were stars to us. Next on the list was that might have even been after Ultramagnetic. I'm not sure, but I know that Mitch brought Ultra from New York, booked them to a show because they had a hit record called Egotripping. They performed in Philly. Prior to them performing in Philly, I think we went out to New York and saw Ultramagnetic perform at the Latin Quarters, because that was just, it was so many stories that I could tell you about what I did with Tone, Ice, LA Kid, and Tony Mitchell. I mean, it's like a fucking movie. We were at the Latin Quarters. I saw Kangol Kid. I heard Rakim, I Know You Got Soul for the first time being played as a demo by DJ Red Alert. I saw Ultramagnetic come out of a stage, out of a glass mirror wall. The mirrors were like this, and then they just opened up and split to the side. And Ultramagnetic comes out, and we're like, "What the fuck?" Like,
yeah,
we were just totally amazed, man. It was just, I mean, I can't tell you the passion and the love that I have for hip hop, and especially for these dudes from Tuff Crew. I mean, they took me on so much of a journey in my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Okay, so is it true? I heard the story that Ultra were in Philly and they were waiting to get paid for a show. That's how you really met him. Is that true, or is it?
I know is that why they ended up staying 3 months? Because Mitch didn't pay him? I don't know. That might be a true story.
That might be a true story.
That sounds pretty good.
That's what I said. You might be telling us something we don't know. Ultra was out there. Maybe they told you what it really was hitting for, but yeah, it could have been because we wound up they wound up staying with us, like he said, for like 3 months.
Wow.
I didn't know that one.
Yep. So we worked on music the whole time, and yeah, they stayed out in Philly, and we really got cool. They was working on some co-production with LA Kid. Hey, babe.
I know Ultramagnetic stayed in Philly for about a month, maybe a little bit more. During that time, they showed us how to use an SP-12, SP-1200. We got to share a basement studio with them.
Right.
We got to rub elbows with them as far as how the industry worked in New York. It was a great experience for us plugging into the New York scene, which was what kind of separated us from the rest of the Philly groups that never got any larger than the few records that they made and then sunk into obscurity, where we were able to link in with New York and eventually link in with Warlock. So super shout out to Ultramagnetic, Said G, Mo Love, Cool Keith, TR Love. They were a heavy influence, and without Ultramagnetic, there would never be a Tuff Crew.
So were you using the SP-12 before you met Ultra, or was this?
No, we didn't even own one. We ain't know nothing about it.
Yeah.
KrownRulers were from 32 Cross the Bridge, which is Philly and Camden, New Jersey, are sister cities. A high quantity and high quality of drugs is in Philly and is in Camden. They both are murdered by drug sales, and they both have their little area, Badlands, whatever. But Grand Pooh wanted to battle Steady B. We did a show over there with Steady B, and Pooh stepped to Steady B after the show and asked him to battle, put up $100, whatever it was. And that was eventually the song Confetti MCs by KrownRulers was all about Steady B. You listen to the lyrics, he's talking the whole song.
So the album Phanjam, how this came about? Why was it a split album?
Because Mitch didn't have enough money to put out an album on both of them, and the KrownRulers were so talented and we had just discovered them, and Ultramagnetic took an immediate liking and working with them, because Mitch was like, look, I got this young boy. He like LL Cool J. He dresses like LL Cool J. Mitch was on the next. Mitch was good with the industry because he copied the industry's ways as far as copycat and cookie cutter. I mean, he see that something was successful, he'd take somebody else and make them look like them, copy their image, and make them successful. Because hip hop has always been a cookie cutter industry. You know what I mean? It's an industry of biters who take a style from someone else and then put their little twist of originality on it, and we do the same thing as Tuff Crew. But yeah, Ultramagnetic took an extreme liking to Grand Poobah because the two songs that they did for them joints was murder. We was mad as shit. I mean, we wasn't mad because our songs wasn't murder. We were mad. We were kind of disappointed because we were kind of pigeonholed to go the new edition of rap route, where Grand Pooh and them was allowed to go straight hardcore, dope. You know,
he was trying to cover marketing wise. He was trying to cover all areas. And he's like, well, if I got an LL, I'm covering the hardcore, and if I got a Tuff Crew and I get him to rap like this or that, then I'm covering, what Will Smith is doing. So he just figured it was more marketable savvy to put a compilation together and give the world all that he had at that point and see which one took off or both took off. And we both took off kind of, but the idea was let's just pitch all of this and see because he really didn't favor either one of us at that point. He was just trying to see what was going to sell. So rather than wait for one project or the next, he said, I'm going to make it a collective project and we'll see what happens from here. Whoever is hot off of this, we're going to do their album and do their music first because we was on a limited budget. So Tuff Crew wound up being the biggest seller or biggest draw, biggest ticket from those two eventually. And we wound up getting the budget first when he got a distribution deal for us and all of that. That's how it is. Because he was just going with whoever. Like if KrownRulers would have did even better or been bigger than Tuff Crew at the time, then it would have been a KrownRulers album first. So that's just the way it went.
So I guess the Art of Love song was inspired by Cool J, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like
I said again, before we didn't really have complete creative control before. So we did what he wanted us to do. And he was like, do songs like this. This is what's successful. My manager was sure, like, if they like this, if y'all are able to do that, then do something like that. So we gave different variations of what we could do.
Rixkey TV. Subscribe now. Jetzt abonnieren.